Hey guys, it's Kat from the Austin Downbeat. Thanks so much for joining me. This is episode 65. Can't wait to tell you who my guest is. But first, let's do the rundown. Here's just a couple people I want to tell you about that are playing August 22nd through the 28th. And here we go. Ashley Monagle is at Saxon Pub on the 22nd. So is Rosie Flores at the Continental Club. On the 23rd, Emily Shirley's at Geraldine's and Betty Sue is at Sagebrush. On the 24th, Boer is at Hotel Vegas with the Gilded Lows. Restos is doing their residency over at Sea Boys. And Patrice Pike is at the Saxon Pub. On the 25th, you have Katrina Kane at Austin Garden and Studio, and Evan Charles is at Sagebrush that same night. On the 26th, Brittany Lobes is at the Come and Take It Live. Guy Forsyth is up the road from me, and he's going to be at Pootie's. And Ruthie Kraft is at Rustic Tap. And on the 28th, your Monday nights, you have Monday Night Supper Club at El Mercado South. You have Bob Schneider at Saxon Pub, and Matt Hubbard is at Sea Boys. There's a lot of more people playing, so be sure you check out bands in town or on your favorite people's Instagrams and see where they're playing and go out and support and buy their merch. That's kind of the number one thing you can do to support people is ironically buy their merch. Let's jump into who I'm talking to this week. I'm so happy to be back. I had this chat with Allie Holder a few weeks ago. I caught her in the middle of a 6-week tour. And during this conversation, she's in Wisconsin. But we get her back in town on September 6th. She's going to be playing at the Sagebrush. So, welcome back to Allie then. In the meantime, we have a wonderful conversation, super chill, super relaxed about all the things her music, life, self discipline, identity, the evolution of that. Really, really enjoyed talking to Allie, and I think you'll enjoy it too. And so, without further ado, here is Allie Holder. Awesome. Allie Holder, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
I love that you're having a snack. I opened up a non-alcoholic Corona. I'm like, let's just have a party.
All right, this is my second sparkling water of the evening. I feel you.
I love a
You
good
hungry?
sparkling water at night. It's kind of like it feels like I'm having a drink and feels all fancy.
I know. Do you not drink?
No.
I don't either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. When I first stopped drinking alcohol, it was kind of like, okay, there's lots of little things that sort of pop up that I just notice, right? And it
Yeah.
really is about, I mean, maybe not for everybody, but I would say for a large section of people, it really is just about having something to hold and drink.
Yeah. And the sugar intake, once I stopped drinking, I was like, oh no.
Uh, yeah. And so when you can find things, like I'm a big fan of non-alcoholic beer. Like it's kind of fun. It tastes the same and it's cold and especially
Yeah.
when it's hot like this, it's really
I
nice.
love non-alcoholic liquor. There's some
Yeah,
really good ones out there now.
I know. And then my friend Brittany Lobus, do you know Brittany?
Mm,
She's like, we have to go to a kava bar. Do you know what kava is?
I do.
I haven't done that yet.
It makes
So,
your tongue go numb. It's a little weird.
does it?
Yeah, it does make you really chilled out.
Oh, okay. So it definitely has like an effect on you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. I don't know. I'm a lightweight, so we'll see. But anyway, so you are, I think you said you're in Wisconsin right
I
now,
am.
somewhere in the middle of
I'm in
Wisconsin.
Bosco Bowl.
Okay.
I was in Glenwood City for a week at a farmstead that's a writer's retreat.
Oh,
And it was
sweet.
so beautiful. It was out in the forest and it was lovely. And it's kind of rural here too. I just actually met up with a friend from Chicago. We've been staying here a couple days and then we'll head
Nice.
to a festival in Appleton tomorrow.
Yeah. Is it called the Mile of Music or something like
Mhm.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then, so this tour that you're doing is like 6 weeks, right? Where you're,
Yeah, yeah. I'm only playing 10 or 12 shows. So that feels pretty good because usually it's like one after another, but this was nice to have some like time in between.
Well, yeah, it seems like it's like a built-in vacation too.
Definitely. And I work remotely, so that's very helpful.
Great. Yeah. That's a smart way to do it. Do you do this every summer or is this kind of
I have
fixed?
the last couple summers. I have,
Hmm.
yeah. This week I'm recently divorced, so I'm going out a little longer than I normally do this summer.
Yeah.
But it
Y-
feels good to be out in the world as myself. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I would imagine that's kind of a new, I've been there.
Yeah,
And
an
I know
identity shift.
I know how you feel. Yes, it really, really is. You kind of have to deprogram and
Yeah.
sort of as cliche as it sounds, sort of not find yourself, but remember yourself,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
also as we age, like that's a whole other chapter that kind of gets introduced that you're like, whoa,
Yeah,
divorce or not, you still have
yeah.
to
Like
figure it
life
out.
still goes on.
Yeah.
And like I realized that like dating in my 30s, the last time I was single was in my late 20s. So
Mhm.
like dating in my late 30s is whole way different. Like it's better for sure, but man,
Yeah.
everything's different.
Yeah. Do you have a sense, and maybe this is showing up in your music, and we'll talk about the last record that you put out, Uncomfortable Truths, in 2020, um, felt like a very deeply personal album for you. But do you feel like you're getting to know yourself more, and in that getting to know yourself more is one thing. Having the courage to put that in your music and be as vulnerable and honest, which I love honesty so much. That's why
Me
I
too.
love your music, because
Thank you.
it does cut with such honesty.
Good.
Is that comfortable for you? Is that normal for you,
Yeah.
or was it an
Yeah.
evolution?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've kind of always written, I don't know, just like issues I've had, it's a big catharsis for me.
Yeah,
So it's like playing live especially is a huge catharsis. And then yeah, I just like it's more interesting to me to like hear something that is like really raw and vulnerable than it is to hear, not that I don't love like cheesy pop songs. I also love those too. But
yeah,
yeah. And it's been interesting too, like um just having a different perspective to write from, and like like having a crush on someone and getting my heart
sure.
broken, not broken, but you know what I mean. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's fun to like, I like how you said the remembering. It's
Hmm.
fun to address those things with a different lens.
Yeah, because it's not like you've never felt that stuff before. It's just that you haven't felt it in a long time, and
Exactly.
not where you are today as this woman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And like you were saying about divorce, like I think, even though I don't actually think this, I think systemically, the way I was raised, the way women were raised in general, that now that like I'm not married anymore, I'm like, oh wow, this is actually kind of liberating because there's no like end point anymore. I don't know if I consciously thought there was, but subconsciously it definitely feels very liberating to be like, oh cool. So now like I just get to have, there's not a goal. Like life just is many goals back to back, which feels good.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I think, yeah, I think even when you're not married, but just like in a relationship with someone, I always fight that urge to be like, what's the goal? Like, what's the point? Like,
Yeah.
where are we trying to get to? Is it to
Yeah.
live together? Is it to get married? Because I don't want to get married. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it is interesting to kind of like step back, whether it's because of divorce or just to choose to be in the mindset of, you know what, I'm
Yeah.
actually not going to live
Yeah.
for any kind of goal in mind, right? Like every day is new, and you don't know. I mean, I think the older I get, the more close of a relationship that I have with like the reality of death, and I think about it so much
Yeah.
that it's like I don't want to I don't want to hold myself back, you know?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
we only get to do this once as far as we
As
know.
far as we
So
know.
I'm back as a flower or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, I know you're a Texas girl. When did you get to Austin from Wichita Falls? What was that journey like?
Um, I went to college in DFW when I was 17, stayed there for 4 or 5 years, and then moved back to Wichita for less than a year. Thank God. And then I moved to Austin in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been there quite a while.
Yeah. Did you automatically, were you already writing and singing and performing?
Yeah, yeah. I started writing songs in high school and playing like open mics and stuff. And
Oh,
then in
cool.
college, I played a lot in the DFW area.
Yeah.
Not like necessarily seriously. It wasn't really until I came to Austin that I actually started to be professional about it. But yeah.
And did you find, because the community here, I just love you guys so much. I love being in places like I was at the Sims Foundation, the first festival, the Feel Good Festival with the Grams Give Back and the Bob Marley, the Bob versus Bob
Yeah.
day. And
Did
like
I see you at that?
I saw you. I get really shy if I haven't met the I'm horrible. Like you would think I'd be so comfortable, but I get really shy. So I did see you and I did hear you play and you're wonderful.
Next time,
But
say
my
hi.
yes, I will next time. When I've done this, then I can go like, come
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tackle you. um, but events like that, when this community is so present and there, and it's just so many hugs and so much love. I
Yeah.
mean, I know you're immersed in that now, and that makes me so happy and it makes me happy that I actually get to feel a little bit a part of that when I'm out and
Yeah.
about and me seeing everybody. But what was your experience with like kind of discovering these people that you have now in your life? Because everyone's just so wonderful and so
Yeah.
supportive,
Really supportive and like honestly, that was like one of the points of contention with my marriage is he wanted to leave and I was like, I'm not going to leave my community. And my folks
Oh,
are here. They moved here a couple years ago, but like I,
yeah.
I couldn't ask for a better community. And
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I mean, thank God I started playing music when I was like young and like early 20s and like I don't know, still had like wanted to stay up after 9 p.m. because you don't realize like how many friends you make and people you make and like acquaintances with. And then 10 years later, you're like, wow, I have like a whole folk community and I have a whole like this community and that community. And it's great. I think the older I get, the more I realize that like, oh, this is like invaluable, just
Yeah.
having and like even if it's someone I don't know or someone doesn't know me, everyone kind of rallies for each other, which is cool.
Yeah, it seems to be the default is to really just love and support around here. Yeah, it's so
I'm
wonderful.
excited about the next Grams Gives. Oh, I think it's for Ham, but Grams Give Back. It's gonna be next month. I'm excited.
Oh, tell me about, can you talk about what it's going to
I don't
be?
know now that I've said it.
Okay, yeah, maybe we don't because I haven't heard about it.
Okay. I'll tell you offline.
Maybe we'll keep that under wraps.
Yeah.
Add
Sorry,
to the
Graham.
mystery. Yeah, sorry, Grams.
What's funny
Um,
about Graham Wilkinson is when I was like an elementary school kid, he was a lifeguard at my swimming pool that I
no.
went to. Yeah, and everyone had a crush on him. Poor
It's
kid.
so funny. It must be funny because I didn't grow up here. And so like I don't have any of those stories, but it's like it must be so trippy when you see someone like, yeah, we knew each other in second grade or whatever,
Yeah,
It's like you get to
yeah.
see them bloom over
Yes,
that time.
decades. Where are you
Yeah.
from?
I was born on the East Coast and then I really grew up in like Santa Barbara and Los
Oh,
Angeles.
wow, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So pretty out there.
Yeah.
Santa Barbara has my heart. I go back there and I really feel like that's where I surfed every day and went to
Oh, I
city
love that.
college and
Yeah.
had my little scooter and I rented a little room up on the Riviera and like just
Oh,
3 jobs, made shit happen all
yeah.
on my own. And there's something really cool about a place that held you like that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. It's like you don't even know what a badass you are until you've come out of it or through it and you're like, you know what? I have worked really hard and done a lot of things. Good for me.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that because I do look back. I recently took all of my I had a whole big Rubbermaid bin of loose photos and I was like, darn it, I'm gonna put them all in like old school with the film in the photo
Yeah.
albums. So I have a couple teenagers and my daughter was like, "Oh, we're doing this. I want to see them all." And I was like, "Oh no." But out of that, I took three photos at three very different stages of my life, and I put them
Yeah.
in my bathroom so I could really love that girl, you know, at
Oh, I
various
love
stages.
that.
Yeah, it's actually been really cool to like look at me during,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and kind of see me as like a different person. I think that's really helpful in
It gives you
here.
so much more compassion for yourself too. It's
Yes,
like, wow, like we got through so much shit. I'm allowed to
yes.
swear. Sorry.
No, no, swear away. I love it. Yeah, and so but one of that is one that's during the Santa Barbara time and I just get to stop every once in a while and really look at her and appreciate the hard work and the work and she had
Yeah.
no idea what she was accomplishing, but yeah,
Yeah.
hindsight's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's talk a little bit about your album Uncomfortable Truth. Do you have more music coming? Are you recording more or what's your before we jump in?
I have a sorry, this thing keeps popping up on my screen and keeps grabbing my attention. I'm gonna click it off.
No worries.
Um, I have a bunch of songs that I've written and a bunch like I finished like three of them at that writing retreat. Like I've probably got like 10, 15 songs right now that I really want to like whittle down to the best ones and like make sure they sound exactly like I want and that the words are there. And I
Mhm.
might have a friend of mine help me with arrangement stuff. And then so I think probably in like early next year I'll try to record again. It's
Mhm.
so expensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is really expensive. And I always kind of wonder too, like, I understand why we record music. I get that. And I think it's important and it's its own journey, I think, in and of itself.
Yeah.
But for you personally, what is behind the desire to record? Like, what's the why at the core?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. I think even my whole why of music in general has changed. Like
Mm,
I think when I first, moved here and was playing all the time and like, I was a musician and I was making it and I was struggling and
mm,
all this stuff and the pandemic happened and I couldn't play music anymore
mm.
and unless it was online, which was weird. And then I actually got jobs that
Yeah.
um at first my identity was totally like, what is going on? Like, who am I even if I'm not like this person doing this thing? And
Yeah.
now I feel like I'm able to step back and be like, wow, now that it's not my sole source of income, like I'm in love with it again. I'm not playing the winery gigs 5 days a week, like I'm really able to like co-create again with it. And
Mm,
so I kind of feel the same way. I haven't recorded and since like that thing that came out in 2020, I think we recorded at the end of 2018. So I haven't
mm,
recorded since this kind of shift. But I don't know. I think I want to start. I think my why is just having that it was like an album cycle, right? And then now I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm just really proud of myself that I even have stuff out and that I
mhm.
have placements in TV shows and stuff that I just don't give myself credit for. That I'm like, I have worked hard. And
Uh,
like, I'm definitely like past I think there was I think the big part of that shift in identity too is like, it's really relentless. Like, the ass kissing and like the scene and like making sure you're like cool and like it's exhausting and I'm not cool. And so it just had to like that was good for me to shift out of that and kind of see things is more of like I'm continually going to create. It's not like an end thing. Like I'm still going to pay for publicity and stuff like that, but I think I'll start trying to do singles in the future and then release like an album after putting all those out.
yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes, oh, I mean, all the time, I think a reset and a refocus is
Yeah.
awesome. Sometimes it might not feel like it. Maybe it starts
Yeah.
happening before you realize that, oh, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But I love like a reframe, you know?
Yeah. Reframe's a great word. My friend and I were just talking about that last night. Um, I was gonna say something I forgot. Keep going.
Yeah, I think overall it's nice. I know in my own life just to kind of like I try to keep my Zoom in check. Like am I
Yeah.
Zoom too close in? Am I Zoom too far out? And just really,
Yeah.
try to always control the Zoom because then my perspective on whatever's happening, it maybe is a little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, I'm excited to hear more. And I think however you do it is great. And I love hearing that you're acknowledging what you've created so far. I think that that's really important, you
Yeah,
know?
it's huge. Like even just being kind to myself, as
Yes,
crazy as that sounds, like, oh, what it's work.
it
And like
is.
dealing with, anxiety and depression and being a woman and it's just kind of like insane to even live in this world. And so
Yeah.
I am I'm kind of realizing slowly like, oh, why don't I like love myself and love my art and like why can't I be proud of it? And you know,
Yeah.
shifting.
I think um a lot of what's happened in our world, especially in this country for women over the last few years has been eye-opening for me too. You
Yeah.
know, I know your on your album in 2020, you have those speak vignettes that
Hmm.
speak very pointedly on several different social subjects, which
Yeah.
I 1000% am aligned
Oh,
with how you feel or how at least on the very surface level you're perceived to
yeah,
feel.
yeah.
um and I do think, and one of the things that I talk about on the show and that's so important to me is mental health. I almost hate saying that because it just feels like one big buzzword sentence, but I really do mean it. And one of the
Me
reasons
too.
we have the conversations we have is because I really do want to provide value for people watching, fans that fans of you, fans of music, fans of creator, people of all kinds. um we're no different than them. We're all the same. And so I think it's
Yeah.
very valuable to have honest conversations about mental health and how we take care of ourselves and what's hard and what have we
Yeah.
learned, what are some tricks, you know what I mean? um
Yeah.
Being kind to ourselves. I think sometimes, like, even I mean that's why I put those pictures of myself up,
Yeah.
that I could like legitimately have something to look at, to connect
Yeah.
to like literally say I love you to that little 4-year-old, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that.
Can you talk a little bit about like, because I know there's a lot to balance, again, I've said it 1,000 times in the show, but like I'll never ever take for granted what you guys do as musicians, the courage and the vulnerability and the
Oh,
talent and the drive and the keeping up with it all, because you do have to. Social media, so hard. It's like another job. Um,
yeah.
so how do you take care of yourself? Are there some things that you can kind of tell us that work for you, you know?
Yeah, I go to therapy.
Yay, I
Which
love
is huge. I have a
therapy.
great therapist. Speaking of Austin community, like Sims has been so
Yes.
helpful. I got on two different meds that have like changed my life and my brain chemistry for the better. That was like an actual game changer for my life
Yeah.
to be able to do that. So that's another big one. And then like just I tend to I get migraines a lot. And so I tend like my central nervous system tends to just like ramp up. And
Mhm.
that's kind of what makes me start feeling bad. So just paying attention to my body and like
Mhm.
a lot of breathing and like just staying home sometimes,
Yeah.
and like listening. Like when the pandemic hit, I think I slept for like 6 months because I was just going and going and going and going. And so
Yeah.
now I've trying to be like, and I go out more now because I can, I guess, or
Mhm.
I loved sitting at home watching TV with my partner, but now, it's
Mhm.
fun to go out too. But yeah, just being slow. pulled the Knight of Pentacles for this like whole 6 weeks, and it's all about like just being methodical and slow. And
Mm.
that's definitely the energy I'm trying to be in, like make sure the snacks are packed and your gas tank is full and that your oil's changed and that you have a jacket in case you're cold and you have tennis shoes, just stuff like that in the bigger scheme of my health and my mental health.
Yeah, I love all that. That's good advice. I love therapy. I mean, I've always said when I first started it a million years ago, I'm like, everyone should do this. I was so naive. I was just like, this is
But
amazing.
it is.
I know it really, really is. Can you imagine what a different world this would be if
And
if that was as routine as
yeah,
going to the dentist or
yeah,
changing
we'd
the
have
oil in your car?
we'd have empathy,
Yeah, we
which
really,
would be
really.
incredible. Yeah, and I've recently I did psilocybin therapy and I did
Wow.
MDMA therapy, and those
Wow.
were really cool. I'm going to do a combo of them next month. This is over like there's been like 6 months between each of them, but
Yeah.
that was like really helpful. And
Yeah.
I mean I'm really really knowledgeable and based in therapy, so I feel like
Mhm.
that helped, but like I mean very like talk about get to the root of stuff.
Right.
I wish that was legal everywhere because I
Yeah.
think that can do so many good things.
Is that the kind where it's guided, where you have a guide? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a ceremony.
Yeah.
It's like 6 hours or something.
Wow. That's cool. I
Yeah.
want to hear how that goes when you do it again.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I think that the first one I kept having revelations for like weeks after, and I was able to like get out of my marriage. And the second one I like started liking my body a little better. It's like just really profound stuff that
Yeah.
comes up out of you without you trying. It's just like subconsciously what's there and needs to happen.
Yeah. It's almost like it just like untangles,
Yeah.
like you have
Yeah.
a knot and it just sort of starts to untangle the knot.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think drinking really helped my mental health or not drinking helped my mental health, just cutting that off like 8 years ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I'm only 5 months into not drinking.
Wow,
Um,
congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. I just literally woke up one day on February 26th. I woke up, but before I hadn't opened my eyes yet. But I was waking up and I got like this message from wherever, and it said, your physical body deserves to be loved.
Wow.
And then it just said, we're done drinking alcohol.
Oh,
And
that's
then
so
I opened my eyes and I was
yeah.
like, oh, and I turned to my boyfriend and I'm like, I think I'm done drinking alcohol. I'm
Yeah.
like, something just happened. Like I got a message on my desk, on my
Yeah.
on my celestial desk. It was really, really interesting. And so not once have I ever just even wanted it. I mean, well, that's
Yeah.
not true. It sounds good every once in a while, but I have
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
replacements that it's just like it's not been difficult, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quitting caffeine for me was 10 times harder than quitting booze,
Yeah.
especially because I can have like sparkling waters everywhere.
Yeah. I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
If it didn't give me bad headaches, believe me, I would not have stopped.
Yeah. Can you drink decaf?
Mm-mm. I
No,
can't even do like barely any green tea or anything like that.
because it
It's
triggers.
yeah, just like jacks up my central nervous system and puts me in like fight or flight, and
Mm,
it's just not good for my body,
yeah.
sustainably speaking.
The good news is that you know that.
Yeah. Well, and I feel so grateful for things like having to quit drinking and like having to stop taking alcohol and like having to slow down or stop taking caffeine and having to slow down because like and with like all the chronic pain stuff and other stuff that's happened to me physically that is traumatic, it's like I can now like I'm so in touch with my body in a way that when I had a bunch of substances in me, like, you know, I couldn't be in tune because I was just kind of like numbed out and away from it.
Distracted. Does
Yeah.
that being in tune and in touch lead to love and Yeah.
Yeah. And like compassion, I really think it is like, I do this thing that my therapist taught me that's like, if I'm freaking out about something, I like name it.
Hmm.
And then I am like, okay, this is a shared human experience. A lot of people are experiencing this. And
Hmm.
then I'm like, self-love and compassion. How can I turn this into a nice thing? And then like evidence to back that up. And
Hmm.
that's been super helpful in terms of like keeping me in check.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of of like, yeah, that whole process of naming something, and what that looks like realistically for me is like literally talking to myself. I love talking to myself. I love that, breaking through that and just allowing
Yeah.
myself to talk to myself.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think sometimes people are afraid to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it kind of breaks the glass in a way and like lets you actually define things, name things, all those things that our therapists
Yeah.
really want us to do, you know?
Yeah.
It's actually
And
really,
like
really,
talking to ourselves in a positive way, not just a critical way. Because
yeah,
it's so easy to be critical.
yeah. And sometimes you don't even realize that you are that, like,
Yeah.
I've caught myself and I'm like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
I didn't
And
know
like,
that. I didn't know I was
yeah.
so critical.
Yeah.
Good
And like
stuff.
reframing, like you were talking about, just like stopping, not in a bypassing way, but like in a, this, thank you for this thought, but that is not true. I do not need it, and
Yeah.
reframing it takes a
Yeah.
lot to catch yourself.
It really, really does. It really does. And I just can't help but imagine, like, what if we were all just catching ourselves every day
I
and just
know.
and just like calling, like, one of my favorite things about being this age and having two teenagers that, you know,
Yeah.
call, like, I can't, there's no hiding, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I
That's
love
such good
going,
modeling for them, though.
yeah, but it gets so cool. Like, I just love going, you know what? I was so rude just then. I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. Like, it's something
Yeah.
so refreshing about just like owning it all. I asked
Yeah.
them to do it.
Yeah.
I got to do it too, It's kind
Yeah.
of cool. Yeah. I wasn't always like that, but age is a wonderful.
It helps. How old are you?
I've 47, almost 48.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really hate when people say to me, "Oh, you don't look that old," but you really don't look that old.
Thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
mean it as a compliment.
Thank you. I yeah, I got two teenagers I got to keep up with. So
Yeah. Well, I was trying to do the math in my head and I was like, I thought she was my age, but I don't think she is.
yeah, no, 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 47. I'll be 48 in January. I'm a 1976 bicentennial baby.
Oh,
So,
nice.
I got like the special birth certificate.
That's so cool. I'm a 1986 baby, so
1986 is one of my favorite years. I
really?
absolutely, well, I am like, I'm just so, I was just doing an interview the other night with someone, and we were talking about like, I love the 80s. The 80s were so fun, and it just, I think I got them right at the right age,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I got to really, really enjoy if you watch Stranger Things, it
Hmm.
really does like walk
Yeah.
you through what it looked like. I mean, all the
Yeah.
things. And so yeah, but I remember 1986 because I was 10 and music was such a big part of my life. I mean,
Yeah.
I got a boombox and a cassette of Purple Rain, and I felt so bad listening to those songs. Like I felt like I was being so naughty, and I loved every second of it. And I would just hole up
Yeah.
in my room, and that's just when I really, like, my brain started to explode with music, and I just
Yeah.
became like a professional listener, and also playing instruments, but like
Yeah.
really a professional listener of music.
Yeah. That's
What
so
was
cool.
your childhood like? Do you have any of that from your childhood?
Yeah, I have
Who was it?
um yeah, I remember when I was in elementary school at some point and I was at some 4th of July thing and someone started playing like the Jimi Hendrix version of 4th of July.
Oh,
And I
nice.
remember being like, "Mom, what
Stop.
is this? Everything needs to stop right now." And like I definitely grew up listening to like 60s music like that, 70s music and like the Beach Boys and outlaw country and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I was always really lucky to just be around it. And then I was really lucky that my parents were super supportive. But I do, when I was 14, I saw Susan Gibson and Walt Wilkins play, and a
Hmm.
guy named Owen Temple at the
Hmm.
Royal Theater in Archer City. And I was 14 and I was like, this is it. And
Yeah.
that was kind of my moment of like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. Do you remember what, because you were at 14, you were already kind of writing, right?
I just started writing. Yeah.
What do you remember what your first kind of song was
I
about?
do. I remember that it was called Blue Orange Skyline.
Oh, very cool.
Who knows what it was about, but yeah.
I feel like, would you ever want to resurrect that?
Nope,
No.
never.
Nope. We're good.
Yeah, yeah, I'm good. There's some older songs that I'm like, wow, I can't believe I wrote that when I was so young. I didn't even understand what that meant, but
Yeah.
most of them I don't I don't want to go back to.
You're like, only forward.
Yeah. My parents are like, why don't you sell all those first CDs you have in our garage? And I was like, no.
No.
I was like 16. I can't do it.
I love it. I love it. All right. So back to Uncomfortable Truths. Can you talk a little bit about that album and I'm like what that was like? Where did you record it and what that process was like?
Yeah, I recorded it at Ramble Creek down south, South Austin, which was great. Britain's great. I never recorded in Austin before, so that was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, like, I think I was have to look at a track listing, but I think you know, like Take Me As I Am was about my marriage, Bad Wife was about my marriage, like
You were really going through it.
yeah, and like Reborn was all about chronic pain and yeah, and yeah, like California is they're all kind of love songs, but I
Mhm.
just really wanted to do things that like not made people uncomfortable, but when I hear something that really strikes me or hits me, I'm like, oh wow, like I never put that thought into words before. And like
Mhm.
that's what I want to do for people. I guess the whole idea was to make people feel less vulnerable. And I know that I have like a lot of privilege as a white woman. And so, like all I can do is like try to be some sort of platform any platform that I can.
Mhm. Mhm. To acknowledge it. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to privilege, what is it? I mean, it's tricky. What is there that we can do, other than
Yeah.
because it's hard. I mean, it's hard. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's a tricky situation.
It is.
Acknowledging it, owning it, understanding what it is. I think,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And it took me a long time to own it and realize it and understand it. And like I think the four Speak songs on that are about like racism, poverty, the medical system, mental health, illness stuff, and then women's rights. And
Mhm.
it's just like all things like, yes, I can talk about the women's rights and the mental health thing, but like I don't know what it means to be in poverty. I don't know what it means to be like, have microaggressions against me every single day. And so that's like where I'm like, okay, I can at least like put a lens on this and try to I don't know. I never know the right thing to say, and I'm not good like in the moment to like come up with stuff,
Articulate
but
it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like yes, articulate it. So yeah, I don't know, and I never want to say anything wrong. So sometimes but I'm like I don't want to get in that habit. I want to just say stuff because I do care, and if it comes out wrong, then great. I know how to correctly speak.
Yeah, and I think most people give the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't know you, but I can tell just from sitting with you for this long that you have a really good heart and
No,
that your
thank you.
intention is in the absolute right place. So, I'm a big fan of benefit of the doubt. I think that that's a really
Yeah,
important part of this kind of social contract that we're all
yeah,
sort of vibing in. Like, just don't jump to conclusions. Just give a person the benefit of the doubt that
yeah,
they're actually trying to say the right thing. Maybe they just don't know how. And
yeah,
also, everyone's ears are different. We're all
yeah.
gonna hear something different, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I try to like, I come from a really like religious upbringing that I'm like no longer a part of.
Same
And
girl. Same.
but I mean, I'm so grateful in some ways that I was raised. This could be a whole nother conversation. But my point of this is I grew up learning how to be very judgmental. And so now I try to be like curious instead of judgmental. And I really
Yes.
like I'm so judgmental of myself. And if I don't catch myself, I'm just like firing off rude things in my head left and right. And I'm like, I don't want to be like that. I just want to be curious or like benefit of the doubt or like
Mhm.
indifferent to something.
Yeah. I think the seed of curiosity is a wonderful, it's one of the things that I think helps me most parenting
Yeah.
is rather than walking into one of the teenagers' rooms and being like, look at your room, da 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 da, and starting to fire off. I'll be like, walk me through your plan. Like, walk me through, walk me through what you're thinking right now. You have not
Yeah.
left your room. It's
It
7 o'clock
smells
at night.
terrible in here.
But to train myself to just sit in that place of curiosity versus like attack has taken
Oof.
years to do it, but
Yeah.
it pays off because
Yeah.
then everyone's brain stays relaxed. And that is kind of the secret sauce, is a
Yeah.
relaxed brain.
And it's like you're able to do that with yourself more because you have the
Yes.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it must be at one point my husband and I were trying to have kids. We obviously didn't have them, but
Mhm.
um I just think there's like a level of evolution that moms have that like is like a whole nother. I don't play video games or anything, but like is like a superstar level,
On the
like
boss level.
yeah, it's like really, really like talk about like healing lineage shit.
Yeah, I literally have a tattoo that says it's in French, but it says to be the bridge between. And that is
Yeah,
about like I'm gonna bridge this way between,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Because yeah, there's so much healing that I think every generation, no matter what your bag
totally.
of shit is like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's always healing that needs to be done.
There
So
is. And my friend and I were actually just talking about this in the car about how like our beliefs are really different from our parents, but like our parents raised us in a way that wasn't like their parents. And so they were evolved in that sense. And they raised us to like give us the space and privilege to make these decisions.
mm,
Whereas they didn't have that luxury, which
mhm.
was a cool thing for me to realize and kind of have compassion around.
Yeah. 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 I didn't really have much of a choice in mine.
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
but that's great. I mean, I do think that
I,
I see other improvements other
yeah.
places for
Yeah.
sure.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that I had another option. I'll say that.
You're like, got that info a little late, but it was
Yeah.
there. I just didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh man. Well, what else is going on before we wrap this up? I could talk to you for like 4 hours.
I know. We should hang out in real life.
I know. And you do tarot card readings
I
too.
do.
Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit? I know
Sure.
nothing about that world. I
You
was
want me to
taught.
pull a card for you right now?
This will be a first. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll give you like a real reading.
I'm super
Thing that
okay.
keeps popping up. It's driving me crazy.
I'm scared, but
Um,
I'm not scared. Okay.
it's just like a mirror. It's just like
Okay.
therapy. It's
All right.
like kind of affirming or kind of just showing you something like I was saying earlier that you didn't really put words to before.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Five of Pentacles.
Mm-hmm.
And five's about contraction. Pentacles are about, hi Lola. Pentacles are about like material things, groundedness, your body. And there's a few ways to look at this card. One of them is like these people in the traditional deck are like really, they're just surviving. They're not thriving, right? And one way to look at that is like, oh, the church didn't help me. The traditional cards are very traditional. And then the other way to look at that is like you didn't like stop and ask for help. So how did those people know they needed to help you? And
Mm,
so it's kind of like you got to ask for help kind of card. And also like what is your relationship to survival and thriving,
Oh my
and
gosh.
like, yeah, and like, what is your, there's a really cool deck called the Mother Peace deck, and she's just like making tortillas in it, just kind of like, I'm just going to do what I can do for now,
Mm.
because like, this is, I don't know, what does that bring up for you?
Well, it's so funny because I always say, and I've had this conversation very recently where I always say, I've been in survival mode my whole life and I don't necessarily need to be in it anymore, but I
Right.
don't know how to not be in survival mode. I don't know
Totally.
how to put the gun down.
When it's like your brain knows, but your body has not caught up yet. And
Right.
that's the really hard part.
Yeah. And yeah, that's really interesting. What did you say about a contraction?
Um, 5, like numerologically,
Oh,
numerically, I don't know. 5s are kind of like a contraction or like a conflict or just it's like a sticky part.
okay. That's interesting because I'm wearing this thing on my chest because it's a heart monitor because my heart is having premature ventricle contractions. And
What does
so
that
like
mean?
so basically there's a ventricle in your heart where like the heartbeat is supposed to start and then go down through the relay and create your heartbeat. I have a ventricle that's doing its own thing and contracting and doing heartbeat. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
having like they're called PVCs. So they're like like really rapid. So every like 2 minutes it happens and it's a contraction in my heart.
Oh my gosh. No wonder you feel in survival
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah. But it's just funny you said contraction. I'm like, I was just at the doctor today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the cool thing about tarot. Like ultimately it's just gonna like peak something in your conscious or subconscious that you're like, oh yeah, this, or I could have pulled probably any card and you would have had something to relate
Sure.
to about it. It's
Yeah.
just like a mirror, I guess.
Yeah. That's interesting. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. It's not like fortune telling.
That's so
Thank God.
scary. Yeah. Well, goodness, thank you so much for coming on. I really would
Yeah.
love to see you in person and hang out. I feel like
Yeah.
we would have a
I'll have
really
to
good time.
get your number.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good luck on the rest of your tour. I know for folks watching, you are back in Austin on September 6th at the Sagebrush.
It's Sagebrush, yes. So the full band
Yes.
show. So that'll be
Oh, yay. Well,
fun.
that'll be fun. Kind of a
Yeah.
nice welcome home.
Yeah. And thank you for doing all of this. Cause I mean, I know
Hmm.
you're not getting paid. Like,
We're
thanks for
building. We're in the building phase where,
thanks for loving music is my point because it takes
oh,
both sides. Like it
yeah.
really does. Without people who really loved music, I'd just
Yeah.
be singing into a tin can, you know?
It is true. It is true. It's such an honor. I really get a lot out of this, both from the music side, but also like from what we talked about tonight.
Yeah.
That like just that authentic connection with another human being and letting people see
Yeah.
that. And thank you for sharing and being
Yeah,
so
you
honest
too.
and open. Like I think that that's just really is about as good as it gets, you know?
Yeah, I
I love it.
agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Everyone watching, you can see Allie Holder play with her full band at the Sagebrush on September 6th when she comes home from this very long tour slash vacation. And until then, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Allie, so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.